Ain't it fun living in the real world? Ain't it good being home?
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Checkwitz. Welcome back to the Kaged Review, and I'm going to do my spoiler review for Solo: A Star Wars Story. And I started out my last review, the non-spoiler review, saying how I feel like this movie has a lot of unwarranted hate, and I'm going to reiterate that right at the beginning of this particular review. Because I really do believe that this movie is getting slack from other things that Disney has done with the Star Wars franchise, not particularly this movie itself. Now, having said that, this was not a perfect movie, but I did find it enjoyable. I had a good time. So let's get into this. First of all, as far as, it's concerned, it's still pretty much a box office bomb at this point. There were a lot of fans that did not even bother to go see this movie, and I think that says a lot about the state of the fans versus Disney and the Star Wars franchise, because let's be honest, typically if people are disenchanted about something, they still go and see it. I think wrestling is a very, very, very good example of that. There's a lot of wrestling fans that just are fucking tired of the program, but they still go and watch to see what it's all about and see if it's gotten any better, any worse, if it's justified, the hate. Whereas Star Wars, fans are actually being like, you know what? This is not what we want to see, and we're not going to go pay and see the movie that you're feeding us. And I'm going to be clear that the Star Wars franchise has been doing this almost since its inception. George Lucas actually stepped away from Star Wars because of fan backlash. Social media has made it much, much, much more prevalent, and now you have people on the internet that are very vocal about what they like, what they don't like about the Star Wars movies. And when you had episode 1, 2, and 3 come out, there was a lot of things people didn't like about it, but you didn't hear it quite as much because you didn't have all these media outlets where people could just voice their opinions. When you're talking about the midichlorian thing in episodes 1, 2, and 3, that got a lot of backlash. Jar Jar Binks got a hell of a lot of backlash. But now here we are with this new trilogy that was being made, and it started so well with J.J. Abrams at the helm, and The Force Awakens comes out, and I thought it was a very good movie. And I agree with people that there was a lot wrong with The Last Jedi. You took some of the most beloved characters, literally in cinematic history, and completely changed their personality type. You gave them abilities they didn't have before. You killed off literally the main protagonist in this whole series, Luke Skywalker, in the most who cares way possible. So there was just so much wrong with that, not to mention there were some scenes that were just not well thought out. Like at the very beginning of The Last Jedi, where they're dropping these bombs onto the ship. It's in space. Bombs don't drop in space, they float. So getting into Solo, honestly, I was apprehensive after watching The Last Jedi. But I'm going to stand firm in saying that I think that Alden Ehrenreich did a very, very good job of playing Han Solo. I think that he looked the part, certainly. He looked like a young Ford. He doesn't have Harrison Ford's acting ability. Not saying he's bad, but, Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. He's very, very good at what he does. But I liked a lot of his inflection. I liked a lot of his facial gestures, his mannerisms. I thought he was very good because, like I said, I think at the beginning of the movie it wasn't necessarily the Han Solo that we knew, but as the movie progressed, you could see him turning into the Han Solo that we all know and love. So I'm standing by that. Alden, I'm very happy with his performance, and I'm also happy with the relationship that they had with Han Solo and Chewie. The way they met, I thought was kind of interesting and cool. Chewie being chained up, treated like this animal, and Han Solo knowing how to speak this language they speak, whatever the hell it is. And honestly, I thought that was pretty funny and pretty cool at the same time. I really liked when Solo started talking to Chewie and his native tongue, and of course, you know, it's a little campy, but it's to be expected. It's Star Wars. I also really liked that they kind of did, not a backstory with Chewie, but they gave him a little bit more of like a side mission here with some of his other race being chained up and them wanting to free the other Wookiees. So that was kind of cool. You know, it showed his relationship with some of his other race, the Wookiees. I like that. I thought it was a nice touch there. Paul Bettany, I really like, and I said in the first review, I think he did a good job with Dryden Voss as far as like there were moments where he had to, you know, do the typical villain bad guy thing, but he really conveyed his emotions very well, and he's just got this cool thing about him that I really like. Paul Bettany is, I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite actors because I haven't seen enough of his work to say he's one of my favorites, but from what I have seen, I really like the guy. And so Dryden Voss I was very happy with. Donald Glover playing Lando. Lando Calrissian is one of the last remaining characters in the original Star Wars they haven't killed off yet. But he was like this really cool dude, and he was very chill, had this cool swag thing about him. And Donald Glover was trying, but I don't know that he necessarily hit the mark. And I don't know if that was the fault of Donald Glover or the writing or how it went, but I gotta say, man, I mean, I really like Donald Glover, but I felt like there was no standout moment for him whatsoever in this movie. He was there, it was cool, but there was nothing to grab my attention at all. Thandie Newton, who I think I first seen in Chronicles of Riddick, and I loved her character there as Dame Vaco. You see her and then she's gone. She is the wife of Woody Harrelson's character, Beckett, Val, and they meet up with Han Solo, and they're planning this robbery, and Val dies very, very quickly. It's like, hey, Thandie Newton, no, bye. And it sucks because like she's actually a pretty good actress, but the reason it sucks really bad is because there were no stakes in that whatsoever. Like, it was supposed to have this emotional moment, it didn't really sell itself, and then it was completely forgotten. And how she dies is there's this pack of marauders that are attacking this train or whatever the hell it's conveyance that Woody Harrelson and Han Solo and, you know, Thandie Newton's character, they're all in there trying to get some resources out of it. These marauders come and they kill Val. Well, later on in the movie, you have Woody Harrelson, Beckett, that, you know, was married to Val, and, you know, he was supposed to be all upset about his wife dying, and then when he sees his wife's killers again, like, everything is cool. Like, he's not going off on them, you know, there's not even a mention of the fact that they killed his wife. And it was like, that was really not very well planned out. It wasn't thought out. Like, if you're going to have stuff like that where you want to suspend disbelief, man, you got to think about what you're doing a little bit. Like dropping bombs in a zero gravity area. It just doesn't make sense. And these are problems that the Star Wars movies are having is, you know, when you watch the Marvel movies, usually they're very well thought out, and like they're very meticulous and a lot of attention to detail. And sometimes it feels like they just slap the Star Wars movies together and says, fuck it, give it to them. And that's where I think a lot of fan backlash is coming from. Because you're literally destroying storylines that have been built up since what, the 70s, late 70s, early 80s? Um, you're destroying characters from this franchise, but then you're just adding these scenes and these storylines that don't altogether make sense. And I'm not the type of person to pick apart a movie or a plot line. I'm not. I enjoy the movie for what it is. I don't, spend every second of the movie trying to pick apart what's wrong with it. I just go and try and enjoy it. So if I'm picking apart what's wrong with it, then there's a problem. I'm sorry, there is. And as far as the performances for most of the, cast that's besides Han Solo and maybe Lando, Thandie Newton, Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, Harrelson, Aaron Kellerman, like they were there. Like they, like I said in the last review, they kind of played themselves in a Star Wars universe. It wasn't acting out a different character. It was just being them in a Star Wars universe. And I don't know that sells very well. I think part of the magic of the first trilogy was not only the attention to detail as far as the universe that George Lucas created, but to each individual character. Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, these were all pretty well thought out and well acted characters. So, coming into this one, you want to see more of that, and you don't really get the character development that you would like. And that's a big thing with this particular episode here, is that you have really two characters that you're building up very well. And everybody else is a side note. And you have some pretty big name side notes. And that hurts you. So, Val's death holds no weight. Another really big problem with this movie in particular is you have the ultimate SJW robot in L337. And one of the things that I think Disney is shooting themselves in the foot with right now is they're trying to make it where everybody is included in these movies. You have gay rights and equal rights for race and equal rights for sexes, but they're pushing it so hard and they're making it so obvious and it's so on the nose that people are just like, oh, come on, man, this is a fucking SJW fucking public service announcement. We go to a movie to enjoy the movie, to watch the plot line, to watch the character development, to watch the special effects, to be wowed, to be emotionally invested. Not for this bullshit. I'm sorry, there is nothing wrong with adding, equality. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is absolutely nothing wrong with selling, animal rights and things like that, like they did in The Last Jedi. If it's not so on the nose that you're making it just abhorrently obvious, that's not what movies are for. They're for entertainment value, not to get everybody to think. If I want to think, I'll go to a seminar. If I want to enjoy my time, relax, and be entertained, I go to a movie. And so you have this SJW robot, SJ Social Justice Warrior, and she is the whole time talking about freedom for her people, not being held down, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it was so much that it was way overboard. I just felt like, at some point you got to quit forcing these messages because now you're losing people. Like I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it if it fits in. If it fits in, fine. Hey, go for it. Take it and run with it. But if you're doing it just to add it into the movie, just leave it the fuck out. That's the best I can say, because honestly, you're not doing yourself any favors with this. Another thing that I don't know if I had a problem with it per se, but I just felt like it was kind of pointless. And that's when Kiri, Amelia Clark's character, realized that Dryden Voss is dead, and she's kind of stuck in this position where she either goes with Han Solo or makes her own way. She decides to stick with the Empire to self-preserve, and you get this scene with Darth Maul, who is actually one of my favorite characters in the Star Wars universe, period. So it's really cool to see Darth Maul, but there was literally nothing there for him to do. He sat there, he talked to Kiri, he said, "You're going to be working with me now, we're going to be very closely working together," and that was it. That was the end of the Darth Maul scene. So it was cool, but it was pointless. I thought it was, one of the worst cameos of somebody I really want to see in a movie ever. So, I mean, the highlights of this movie, like I said, I really liked when Chewbacca saw his other Wookiees being enslaved and being beaten and stuff, and he decided to go rescue them, and then there was kind of a couple of moments where, they had a Wookiee type scenario where you got a couple of them that are bonding and shit. It's something you've never seen in the Star Wars movies before. You've only seen Chewbacca, so that was kind of cool. And I really did like everything they did with Solo and Chewbacca. The building of the relationship, how they met, how they started to become close, how, Solo was really looking out for Chewie even though he's convinced he's the bad guy in the scenario, and even Kiri says at one point, "You're actually the good guy." And things like that were cool. And overall, the movie was entertaining. The special effects were cool. It was just a fun ride. So, I'm kind of sticking with where I was last time. It was not a perfect movie. It did have some storyline problems, which I kind of talked about in the first review. But for this review, I really wanted to get into what didn't make sense to me and what really got to me as a fan just wanting to watch a movie. And I'm going to keep reiterating because I think somebody needs to get this, Kathleen Kennedy, that it's fine to have the SJW shit. That's not an issue, but quit making it so forced. If you're going to make it tie into the storyline. Make it seamless and not a fucking public service announcement. That is a key that you are missing in a big way. Other than that, I still think it was, decent. It's like a 6.5 out of 10, I think is what I gave it. And I think that's fair. I think I'm going to stick with that. But they got to tighten up, or otherwise this fan backlash is just going to keep happening. Like, I am quite fearful of the next actual Star Wars movie that's going to be coming out, Episode 9. Because after The Last Jedi, I think they have permanently fucked up their fan base. They have alienated a lot of people that were very big fans of this. And it takes talent to do that, believe me. It takes doing a lot of the wrong things. And like I said, when you take one of the most beloved characters in cinematic history, in Luke Skywalker, who is this ultimate optimist who is always, trying to do the right thing, trying to save people, trying to strive for being better and doing something right, to literally this grumpy guy who doesn't give a shit about anything anymore. He literally changes his complete personality. And then at the end, you're thinking, okay, they're actually having a fight scene with Luke Skywalker. He actually showed up, and then no. It's just him projecting himself from his mountain hideaway. And then he just dies. He just kind of does the Odin thing in Ragnarok and just kind of sparkles away. I thought it was terrible. And I'm not even a big Star Wars fan like a lot of people are. Like, I'm really not. I'm definitely a Marvel guy, and I get way into that, but as far as Star Wars, they're entertaining and I like them and they're fun, but so for me to be like, you know what, you guys really screwed this up, you really screwed something up. So guys, that's my take on it. It's going to be really interesting to see where Kathleen Kennedy and Disney go from here, because I don't know that there's anything that can be the salvation of the Star Wars series right now. I think there's way too much hate from the fans. But it is what it is. As far as Solo, I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. And I understand they're doing a Boba Fett backstory next, and I think that they're starting to throw too many Star Wars movies at us at a time. That one of the things that made Star Wars special is that they were very rare and they would only come out every so often. Now you're trying to franchise it like Marvel, and that's just not going to happen. You're going to lose everything that's special about Star Wars. So guys, gals, let me know what you think in the comments. Especially let me know what you think about Star Wars as far as their future prospects. I'm really interested to get some insight into that. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwoods. Kaged Nation out.